Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. One of the important issues regarding the concept of God is the issue of fate and predestination. And this is an issue which has caused a number of misconceptions in many, many minds. And people have absolutely been at times confounded with the fact that if it is believed that the Almighty has written the fate of people, then of course there is no question of any trial or test. Then why at all has mankind been created like this? Because if the Almighty knows and He has actually written the fates of people, then it is sort of an exercise which is being done, and this would mean that a person has no personal free will, and in the absence of any free will, the concept of any trial and test would become meaningless. Now this of course is something which needs to be understood, and in my personal opinion, if there are two basic premises which if understood would perhaps go a long way in clearing this misconception. One of these premise is that one needs to understand, and of course with this regarding this understanding, one is absolutely clear about in his own self that there are certain areas in which a person has no will, he has no free will, and he is under compulsion. For example, he of course does not have a free will in choosing his parents or in choosing his country. However, in doing good deeds and in doing bad deeds, a person knows when he has this full freedom, and similarly in case of bad deeds as well. So therefore there are two separate areas. One is an area in which the Almighty has not given us freedom, and there are other areas in which He has given us freedom. And of course our accountability also would relate to this second area in which we have been given this free will. So therefore we will not be asked why we were born in a certain family or why we were born in a certain country. However, we would be asked that if we were given this free will, why did not we do good deeds, for example? So one of these premises needs to be understood in this way. The second thing which needs to be understood is that the knowledge of God does not affect our own deeds. This does not mean that if the Almighty has knowledge of the fact that a person or such a person is going to go to heaven and another person is going to go to hell, then this would mean that actually He has driven that person, He has forced that person to go to hell or heaven. No, this is not the case. The case is, and the detail to this is, that actually what a person should understand is that if the Almighty has knowledge of the fact that if a certain person is going to hell or heaven, then there are certain details which at times we do not mention, and which of course causes this misconception. And those details are that if a person is going to go to hell, then of course the Almighty would be knowing that a certain person is going to go to hell, but it's not that His knowledge is going to affect the person's deeds. The full thing in this regard, or the full detail in this regard, is that such and such a person, while exercising his own free will do certain good deeds which will lead him to heaven. So this is the detailed statement which of course should be considered. Similarly, in case of going to hell, it's not that a person his fate has been written that he's going to go to hell, but the knowledge of the Almighty in this regard would be that such and such a person, while exercising his free will do bad deeds, and as a result will go to hell. So this whole statement is in the knowledge of God. And of course this statement would mean that if a person is ending up in hell or in heaven, then it is not that because the Almighty has preordained this, but because of the fact that his own or her own deeds are such. The only thing is that while exercising his or her free will, the end result is in the knowledge of God. So therefore, if these two premises are understood, I think that the issue of fate and predestination would stand resolved to quite an extent. However, there are certain other questions which might arise, but that would of course require a separate discussion. أقول قولي هذا واستغفر الله لي ولكم ولسائر المسلمين والمسلمات.